Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis, and 3 new Town Branch whiskeys are coming to Ohio on Wednesday, August the 4th. Tonight, we talk to the man, the master distiller behind them all, Mark Coffman, on Whiskey Business. And hello, Facebook Lively and YouTube viewers, one and all. Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis. Welcome to Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. And we are coming to you once again remotely, as we did in the past during the pandemic. Is that why we're going remotely tonight? No. I'm happy to say that it's not the reason. The reason is that our guest, Mark Coffman from Town Branch Distillery, is joining us this evening to discuss and taste and just love all over 3 new Town Branch products that are coming to Ohio tomorrow. A bourbon, a rye, and a single malt whiskey as well. So thank you for joining us. Say good evening to Eric Osbeck, who looks like he was chomping at the bit to be with us right out of the gate. So thank you. Chime on in, everybody, if you'd like to, on our comment section. And also want to thank the Evergreen Podcast Network. We are now a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Very proud and honored to be part of this great podcast network. And you know what? I could babble on about it, but our good friend and amazing videographer, John Whitney, probably can show you something that gets to the point a little better. Hit it, Johnny.
Watch this.
1, 2, 3.
On Whiskey Business with me, Dino Tripodis, we are proud to be joining the Evergreen Podcast Network. So join us for a good pour and a good conversation on Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. Now, I don't care who you are.
Bravo.
That's one sexy video. Not the guy in it, but the way John Whitney shot it. And like I said, if you're just joining us on Facebook Live tonight, Mark Coffman, Master Distiller from Town Branch, will be joining us in just a little bit to talk about these magnificent whiskeys that are coming to Ohio as of tomorrow, I believe. So we'll get into all that fun stuff. But before we do, our audio producer extraordinaire, Greg Hansberry, has some.
Hey.
Oh, look at you! You're out. You took full advantage of the remote. You're outside.
I'm outside normally. I'm in front of my wall of records, and not even 5 seconds into the podcast, and I got stung by a bee. I stepped on a bee, and god damn, it hurts. So I'm fighting through here. I'm plowing through. I've got to power through. I'm not going to withdraw from the Olympics here for that injury.
Yeah.
But let me hit up a couple of things here. Of course, whiskeybusinesspod.com is our website where you can find everything Whiskey Business, including our archived episodes, some of the videos like what we just saw, that clip, some works that John and Dino have done before, some writings, pictures, new headshots. That's nice. Also, we'd already visited or talked about evergreenpodcasts.com, but there's a whole slew of great shows for you to check out other than Whiskey Business, including a couple of our friends from here in Ohio, Ohio versus the World, and a couple other ones there. Let's see what else. YouTube. Thanks for watching us on YouTube right now. Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis. And if you're watching live, you can comment, as Dino is saying. Follow us and click the little subscribe and bell icon right there. And then you'll get a notification every time a new Whiskey Business pops up. Like and share. That's the best way that you could help us, is share, with all your friends, and especially this one, because this is cool. We got this, we'll get into the show, but some really cool whiskey that nobody's tasted yet. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, thank you very much. If not, you can find us at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Amazon, Overcast, NBC's Olympic streaming service.
Not true.
Not
true.
No, not that.
Last one's not true. But
I think that's everything. Facebook, Instagram. Thank you if you're watching this live. Thank you. Comment and share. We'll include your comments below. And if you're watching this like retroactively, like us for notifications when we come live like this. A couple of things real quick. We wanted to promote. Right now, there's a great podcast out with Chuck Lombardo, the Cleveland Indians' biggest fan. We talked to him about the Guardians, but we did a little shot before that. I want to show off this shirt here. It's a whiskey business shirt.
Nice.
From Chicago. I went to Chicago a couple weekends ago, or about a month ago or so, and interviewed. There's a bar, whiskey business bar up in Chicago, and I sat down and talked to the guy there, and we chatted just about whiskey and how it came up with the name and everything. A lot of fun. But I wanted to give a special shout out to our friends down there at Echo Distillery, because they gave me a bottle of their rye to bring. So I gave from a Columbus whiskey business to a Chicago whiskey business. I gave them a bottle of rye, and I know that they've reopened and relaunched all their new grand opening stuff. So go check out our friends there at Echo Distillery, and check out that podcast at all those places, whiskeybusinesspod.com. And that's enough of the business. Let's get to drinking.
Yeah, the Chuck Lombardo podcast. There's no crying in baseball was a lot of fun. So thanks.
It was a good one. Yeah.
You know what, gentlemen? I am not in politics. I do not govern the state of Ohio, and our governor DeWine, did a fine job during the course of the pandemic. This got nothing to do with a political statement one way or another, whether you like him or don't like him, voted for him or didn't vote for him. I don't care. But, as an outsider looking in, I admired all the pressure that he was under. But he's never had the pressure. He's never had the pressure of having to make a barrel selection for the state of Ohio.
Yeah, right.
It's extremely crucial and important to the state of Ohio. I have.
You're an American hero.
On this particular barrel selection for Town Branch, as we say, a very good evening to Mark Coffman, Master Distiller from Town Branch. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, we did this barrel selection during the pandemic. It was a little different. Instead of being down there on location where we normally travel to said distillery and enjoy the hospitality of a Town Branch or wherever we may have gone to try our whiskeys. But this time around, we had to adjust, and you guys did a wonderful job. Product was sent to each individual who was part of the barrel selection. Some of the loveliest packaging I've ever seen for such an endeavor. And we did it, man. I mean, we picked some really good whiskeys, 3 of them that we're going to sample once again this evening and find out a little bit more. So thank you on behalf of Town Branch. Thank you, Mark Coffman, for putting so much love into these bottles that Ohio is about to experience here in the next 24 hours or so. Bravo, my friend. Well done. I'm looking forward to coming back to them because I haven't tasted them since we selected them. So this is going to be a fun night. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. How are you?
Doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's going really well right now, so no complaints on our end. And hopefully this situation with the COVID starts to tail off here in a few weeks, and we can start to get back to normal soon.
Are you guys back open for people yet to come check out the distillery?
Yeah, everybody's back open. We're giving tours now, but everyone's still a little bit cautious, just waiting to see what's going to turn out here in the next few weeks.
I gotcha. And these 3 whiskeys that we're going to try tonight, are these exclusive to Ohio, or are these going elsewhere as well? Ohio was just fortunate enough to pick these particular 3. Are these
well? Those barrel selections will be exclusively for Ohio.
These are,
but this is coming out of our standard pool that we have. So we did quite a selection. I remember that. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. It's been a number of months back. Was it March or April we did that? And I think we went through 12 samplings that evening.
Yep. It was I was happy to have been at home at that point. So when it was all said and done, it's like, I'm glad I didn't have to travel. That's one time the remote selection worked out like, this is good. All I have to do is go from here over there. and I'm done. But it was difficult. It was difficult because they all had merit. Each one of those samples, those 12 samples, any one of them could have been the pick. So it was interesting to see all the different perspectives and views from the other whiskeys in the nose in respect to the palate and the nose and so forth and so on. And there were some difference of opinions, but when it was all said and done, these were the three that we came down and nailed. And we're going to start tonight with we're going to find out a little bit more about Town Branch Distillery itself, how long it's been around, its humble beginnings, which Mark was a huge part of from the get-go. This is not his first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen, as far as building things to the excellent state of where they're at now. But we're going to start with, per Mark's recommendation, we are starting with the Kentucky single malt whiskey. This one aged 7 years. Now, Mark, tell us a little bit about for the bourbon drinkers and the rye drinkers, which we will get to here in just a moment. A single malt whiskey. What's all that? What's that all about?
This is strictly using one ingredient, and that's the malt.
Probably already.
We're going 100% single malt on this. There's quite a story behind that, because when I was getting ready to commission the equipment back in early September, late August of 2008, the owner of the company, Dr. Pierce Lyons, he wanted the stills, but he did give me direction on which direction to go. So I approached him about 3 weeks out, and I said, Pierce, we're getting ready to start up doing some commissioning here in a couple of weeks. I'm assuming you want me to go ahead and put together a bourbon recipe. He says, oh, hell no, Mark. It says, I'm Irish. I want a malt whiskey. So sure enough, that's what we came up with, and we use a 2-roll malted barley, the same malted barley that we use in our Kentucky ale beer too. So we came up with that. We also go with 20% inoculum from one of our live fermenters. So we're taking the active ale yeast off the bottom of that and mixing 80% of our distiller's yeast onto that.
Wow. It's got a weird, not a weird, but like interesting finish. It's great.
Yeah.
Like it's
We'll
smooth, but it's unique. Like it's flavorful. You could tell I'm really well spoken and diverse. It's good. Drink it.
Believe it or not, Mark, as we call Hansbury the boy, he's actually developed quite a decent palate and nose over the last few years that we've done this. Even though his words may not always be properly, his enthusiasm is dead on. So yeah,
if I can like get my tongue, my taste buds to get the word to come through my brain and back out of my mouth.
Well, that's pure excitement, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly.
Johnny, what do you think?
I love it. I was wondering what proof it was, because it was the first time I tasted it right before we were starting the tasting. It was a little hot for me. So, what's the proof on it?
90 proof.
I just put a splash of water in it and it kind of opened it up really nice.
Hey, and can I see the bottle again, Johnny or Dino? Hold that bottle up to the screen. Very cool. And it's a bourbon. I mean, because it tastes.
That's a bourbon, but this is actually a malt that we're tasting.
That's the bourbon. I'm sorry.
I was going to say it tastes like a scotch.
There's a single malt right here. Sorry. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah, I was going to say it tastes more of like in the Scotch family than.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I already put this back up, and I apologize. The bourbon is 90 proof. This one's 87 proof, John. 87.
Okay, well then I'm a big pussy then.
I had already
something unique that we do with the malt whiskey is, of course, one of your biggest capital expenditures that you have tied up with distilling is, especially maturation distilling, is the cost of the barrel. So what we do is we'll use our bourbon. Once we're done with the bourbon, we also make Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale, one of those nice barrel-aged beers, and we started making that in 2004. So when we're done with the beer, we'll give it a quick rinse to take the residual beer out of it. Then we'll put our distillate right off the stills into that. So what's nice about it, you don't get near the angel share loss, the quick 10% loss that you go into the barrel, but I think you get up a little bit more sweetness and more character of the malt that comes through on this.
Is that
I wanna
because
try
the
that
barrel's
beer.
already saturated? Is that why you don't lose as much?
Yeah, the barrel's saturated, and there's you can measure it out, but there's roughly about 2.5, almost 3 proof gallons of whiskey still remaining in there a lot of times.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And you guys are one of the few, Lexington Brewing Company, you're one of the few that actually makes whiskey and beer. I know a lot of good beer.
And
You
we're the
also
only one, and the only one on the Bourbon Trail that does that.
Right. And you recently joined that family as well. I believe you're the seventh member of the Bourbon
back
Trail.
in 2012 is when we joined the Bourbon Trail.
Nice. They also have a bourbon infused coffee drink as well. And it's one I wonder, Hansberry, I wonder if I can get away with having that in the morning on Sunday night.
Yeah, under 90 proof is breakfast whiskey.
That's right.
It's good stuff indeed. So yeah, this is the single malt. This is delicious. And Hansberry, you said it's got a really nice finish at the end. It stays with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I recommend drinking that right at room temperature. You don't need ice. You can put a little bit of water in to open it up if you want to, but it's a nice sipping whiskey.
I could sip this all night long, and
A little.
I feel bad because since we are remote, I had to just pour out samples for the boys.
Yeah. You showed that whole bottle.
Huh?
You showed that whole bottle. There's very little out of that.
So 50 centimeters.
I gave you two of those.
I know. I'm kidding.
I know.
I'm kidding. We kid, Dean.
They can come over here and drink it anytime they want. We're joined by a lot of friends on Facebook Live tonight. Eric says it needs to be 95 proof. Well, I don't know why, Eric. Okay, but it is.
Maybe Sunny 95 reference.
Yeah.
And I get it. 95. Huh? Duh.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Andrew Wall says, great product, great distillery. He loves the Pierce Lions, a great Irish whiskey. He loves the Pierce Lions, and so do I. That is amazing. Now, were you behind that as well, Mark?
Yeah, I started that up. I ordered the stills from Vendome here in Louisville and installed those in Ireland at a brewery back in 2012. And we started those up in November. And we ran those for a few years until we bought another property at St. James's Gate, and right across from the Guinness Brewery. It was an old church that had closed up and was decommissioned in the 1960s. It's got a great stone architecture to it, built in the 1850s. And we rebuilt that church and put the stills in there, right at the altar.
Nice.
I like that.
Perfect.
But
Yeah,
now there's one key aspect to the church. We only own the perimeter of the church and have access to get into it. It's a 3-acre site. But it's literally bodies buried all the way up to the foundation of the church. And then when we were doing the construction on the church, we thought, well, we'll keep this nice and clean, put all the pipework underneath the floor because it's all have to come up. It's in real bad shape. So as we start taking up the floor, we found more bodies.
You guys should think about
years there. So it put some delays on the construction of the church, getting the archaeologists on site and doing their due diligence. And
how ironic to have spirits bump into spirits, literally.
Yeah.
We can't get anyone to spend the night
there and the dead bodies there.
You guys should look into a ghost tour.
Exactly, John. That's what I'm thinking. Man.
You were saying, Mark, you couldn't get anybody to what?
For that.
Couldn't get anybody there to spend the night.
Oh, we would.
The cemetery goes back to the 10th century.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the first mayor of Dublin's buried there, along with
really.
You should think like a contest. If you could spend the night there overnight, then you could drink for free for life. I'm in.
It could be our first whiskey business ghost adventure, right?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be a blast. But thank you, Andrew, for the great mention, because it is a great line of products. Tell me a little bit, Mark, before we get into our next whiskey. Tell me a little bit about the Town Branch itself, how it started, and what it's named after, which I know, but tell the folks how it's got its name and its beginnings.
Well, this was a typical time back in the time when Pierce was alive, is that he was always thinking, and it wasn't uncommon to get a phone call on a Sunday afternoon. And I remember back in February of 2008, Pierce said, Mark, I want to put some stills into the brewery. And I just ran into Richard Forsythe's, and we talked about it. And he's going to contact you tomorrow. He's going to give you a price and delivery. See what we can do. So let's see if we can work that out. Of course, I'm thinking, golly, we're at this brewery that doesn't have any space. And I said, Pierce, where are we going to put these stills? He says, that's tomorrow's problem. So that told me right then, that's my problem. Don't bother him with it, but let's work out the deal. So sure enough, the next morning, I got a call from Richard Forsythe's Monday morning, right at 8 o'clock. And Richard says, Mark, he says, I was just talking to the lad. I said, I ran into Pierce yesterday, and he wants some stills. And I told me about 18 months, and he asked me to go ahead and work something up for him. And I said, what you got, Richard? And he says, well, I came into the shop this morning talking to the lads, and they says, well, we got such and such is still sitting out there for 9 months. They haven't paid up and done anything on these stills. We can essentially finish these up and send that to Kentucky. I says, so what are you saying, Richard? I says, here's how much it's going to be to finish it up. I got about 6 weeks of work to do. And this is the cost. And sure enough, we talked, went back and forth on everything, got the drawing. I wired him some money that afternoon, and we made it work. That next Monday, and 6 weeks later was roughly late April, early May. We received the stills. At that time, we had known the sizes of everything and where it was going to go, and we had done a lot of preliminary work, getting a lot of mechanical piping in place, some electric roughed in, mezzanines built, some tanks manufactured. So we pigeonholed that down through a small space. I mean, we literally had a 1/4 inch on both sides of the still turned on its side, getting it through a doorway. And we got it in there, and then we started up September 1st, 2008. That's how we started distillation. Wow. So, nice. Business has been good. The distilling business is good. Of course, we're years away from really seeing any of the distillate come off of the barrels, but the beer business has been real good. And we're really struggling for space. So I worked out, and over the last few years, I've been buying about a bunch of property near the area. And we had area right across the street. So we decided, let's go ahead and razz that, get those buildings down, get the environmental assessments out of the way. Then we went ahead and started designing for a distillery right across the street from the brewery. And then in 2012, we installed that. And that's where it came up to be Town Branch. Now, Town Branch is the only waterway that goes through Lexington, and it's non-navigable. Yeah. And if you don't know, Lexington's the largest city, I think, in the Northern Hemisphere, not on navigable waters. So
did not know that.
It's just a stream that goes through. It's almost a zero flow. In August, you could literally walk across it. It might be ankle deep. And then sometimes it floods, but from flash flooding. But no, that's what Lexington was founded on, was Town Branch, and it's been there ever since. That's where the old Pepper Distillery was. That's where the old Tar Distillery was, right there along Town Branch.
That's great.
Where do you get your water for distilling?
Well, it's municipal water from the Kentucky River.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at your brewing product log, and for sure I've had this bourbon barrel ale. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10. Every time I go down there, I'll pick up. It's in the 4-packs, right?
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah, we started making that. We were working on trying to fine tune that process back in 2004 and 5. We really got it honed in. Now it's probably 70% of our product volume alone. We've got a warehouse that's 22,000 square foot, and it holds anywhere from off season, maybe 6,000 up to 12,000 barrels of aging beer in there.
I want to try the bourbon barrel strawberry ale. Looks good.
Yeah, that's one that we got out right now. That should be pretty close to running its course, and the pumpkins already come out on the docks this week.
Oh, nice.
Don't even get me started, Mark, with him with pumpkins and Halloween.
I'm going. Where are these docks located?
Yeah, and there's a reason Hansberry. They come in a 4-pack because that's all you need, man.
Yeah,
I checked the label. I pulled one off the line the other day, and it's running right at 10%.
Oh
There you go.
wow, that's pretty good. That's good.
Goes down too smooth though.
They're tasty.
They do. They do.
All right, speaking about tasty, let's get to bottle number 2, shall we? This is the Town Bench Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This one, as I mentioned before, I was holding up. This is the 90 proof bourbon that we selected in the barrel selection. The bourbon, I'd say, I can't recall exactly which one we discussed in length the most, but it might have been the bourbon. It might have been the bourbon that had a lot of the split decisions in the actual barrel selection because they were all so good. So tell us about this one, Mark.
Well, that bourbon, it's going to be range of about 5 to 6 year old bourbon. I mean, it's all these barrels are stored in a warehouse in a valley, so it doesn't get real hot. And the humidity stays up kind of high in there too. And we do get a lot of moss or buildup of residual dampness on the barrels where we're at this warehouse. But it's another nice smooth whiskey bourbon. Now that one, the mash bill is going to be quite different than you typically have. This is going to be 56, 24, 20, 56 corn, 24 rye, and 20 malt. So you should get a little bit more of that malt presence onto it. We carry that state straight through with that product.
It's very smooth.
Yeah, almost. Well, there's no such thing as too smooth, but it is really, really smooth. It makes for easy drinking. Rob Crass is chiming in. Coffman was once referred to as the guy behind the bourbon behind the beer.
Well, I have a tendency of sticking my hands into everything, and I was heavily involved with the beer operation for a number of years.
Nice.
So you had you had your head in everything because for 35 years you've been doing this design construction. I mean, you literally build places from the ground up.
Yeah. Did that for many years. And
so
it's nice. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go first.
It's nice to have this to fall back now and let the young engineers dig into the other stuff and beat themselves up traveling all over the place.
So how did you get into becoming a master distiller?
I enjoy the business tremendously. When I first came with the company, I was immersed heavily into fermentation technologies, mostly making lactic acid bacteria for the feed industry. That took a lot of time, and you really learned to specialize in what you're doing and how critical cleanliness is. You know, anytime someone says, well, you're a brewer, oh, that's great. Well, really, when you know the inside of it, you're just a highly paid professional janitor because everything's got to be clean. So if it's not clean, it shows up in the flavor of the product. So, but when Pierce came up again, this was a Sunday in October in 1999, he told me, he says, so tomorrow, go out and take a look at the Lexington Brewing Company. They're closing their doors, and maybe we could buy some of the tanks out of it. Because we're always needing tanks for our business. And I said, well, I'm heading to Mexico City in the morning. Can we go do it this evening? Well, a few phone calls later, we ended up down there, both of us, with the people that owned the place. We looked it over, and we made an offer. They took it. It had a whole brew house. It had a bottling line from the old Schindling Brewing Company there in Cincinnati.
I've had that beer.
Yeah. Well, we had the bottling line, and when we ran that bottling line, it told you who the boss was. And it wasn't unusual for that thing. You'd be kicking out low fills for half the day. But we lived with that for a number of years after we got it started. But anyways, this is kind of the nature of Alltech in the way Pierce ran. He would take one opportunity to buy in tanks and turn it into an enterprise. We had no intentions of making beer back in early 2000. we looked at things and we says, gosh, we have the symposium every year. And at that time, about 1,700 nutritionists came in from all over the world for a 3.5 day symposium talking about feed and the technologies and the new items coming into the feed aspect. And then we said, this is crazy. We're buying hundreds of kegs of beer from Miller and Coors. Why don't and Budweiser? Why don't we make our own beer? We got 2 brewmasters on staff from our alcohol division, and we have the brewery downtown. So that's how we got started making Kentucky Ale, and that's where it started. Using it as a marketing tool when we first started in 2000.
Humble beginnings. You know,
Yeah.
just hey, why are we buying beer from everybody else?
Then we found out a month later that we're supposed to have a permit to make beer. So
Oops.
Where does it go?
Yeah.
Can we talk about this bourbon for a second? Now, I'm outside for the people listening at home, and I've got a little fire pit going here,
Here we
which is
go.
awesome. But it's given this, like, I'm just kind of overwhelmed by the smoke, in my senses. So I don't know if it's smoky or not, but it really. May I suggest drinking whiskey by the fire because it tastes really good. I mean, and like I'm just overloaded right now. I also weird saying it's very flavorful. A lot of fruit and cherry in this. I don't know if that's just me.
No, you pick a lot of that up. Sometimes you pick a little bit of black licorice off of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we pick a lot of those flavors and characteristics off it. Then the finish, it just kind of lingers and stays there with you a little bit longer too.
Yeah.
But I've also found out, if after you poured that sample, after about 5 minutes, it aerates and it kind of changes and molds itself in, giving you more flavor again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
just
it
in
a
the
lot.
short amount of time we've been talking from the first sip to the second sip. And I think that was the issue when we did the barrel selection. And when I say issue, I don't mean a bad issue. That was the dilemma, if you will, is that we would have these selections to choose from. You had one, and then by the time to be fair, we had to go back and try them again, all of them, just to be sure. And the flavor profile would change a little bit after you've had several selections. And
How many selections did they give you, Dino? How many did they mail you?
I think, Mark, did we say 12? There were
12, yeah.
12 in total before it was all said and done. Yeah. And I think 4 or 5 of maybe more. I mean, it's put it this way. It's too heavy to pick up. I have all the little remnants left over, and the folks from Town Branch, when they sent the 3 bottles, also sent me the leftover remnants from the barrel selection that we had as well.
Nice.
And also sent me something that we're going to tease at the very end of this podcast, which I'm excited about. And I have not tasted ever. So
here's what you got to do. Our friends, Leanne Sims and Blair Beavers, the Columbus Craft Cocktail Tour host.
Sure.
They've done a tasting like this, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was with. But anyway, they had all those remnants, and they made an infinity bottle of all of it.
They made an infinity. I thought about that. You know what? Let me ask the master distiller about that. What are your feelings and thoughts on the infinity bottle when people start taking their little remnants and pour them all in one and let it sit and marry for a long time? How do you feel about the infinity bottle?
I'm not so sure about the bottle, but I like the idea of an infinity barrel. Is taking the remnants and blending it back into a barrel, so you have all your single barrel selections coming together in one barrel where it's still aging out. I just worry a little bit about some of the heavy esters co-mingling with some whiskeys that might not have it. You can really get a funky color and cloud coming off their whiskey.
Heavy esters.
Mm-hmm. Rob wants to know. Rob wants to know if you're from Chicago.
I'm asking what's an ester. Explain what an ester is, Mark.
Yeah,
that's giving you your flavor congeners. It's going to co-mingle with the oils in there. Some are going to be heavy on the esters. Some are going to be a little bit lighter. But you could really change the dynamics of the chemistry of the bourbon when you co-mingle those from many different bottles. And try it sometime, and you're going to be surprised. It doesn't stay very clean. It'll change on you pretty fast.
Huh.
So,
But I do like
Hansberry's,
that barrel.
so to Hansberry's credit, if I were to take all these town branch remnants and simples, we'd be making like our own infinity barrel. So he's not too crazy when he's saying mix all those together and see what happens.
No.
That wouldn't be.
They'd
That
be
would not
similar in the esters.
All right, Hansberry, we might do that.
Hey, like I said, I took that idea from our friends over there at the Columbus Craft Cocktail
we might
Tour.
take all the remnants and let them commingle and exist and see what happens. But we're going to have to write down each and every, because they're all labeled. So we're going to have to write down exactly what they are when they.
Right. So if we come up with like the next,
if you were to make an infinity barrel, Mark, I mean, how many whiskeys would that consist of? Do you think?
Oh gosh, you probably about 200 bottles.
Yeah.
You build that up. Say we're going to run maybe a little over 200 single barrel runs this year, and if we took all of our remnants on that and just kept putting into it, and then just draw off a bottle to your favorite customers and handle it as your infinity bottle.
You guys should do that for real. And like after about 5 years of doing infinity barrels, just put it out with a label that's got the infinity right on below it, and just just market it as the infinity barrels. That'd be really cool.
Good idea.
People are idiots and collectors. They'll try anything, even if it tastes like poop. They'll buy it.
That's right.
I'm not lying.
No, you're not lying. So I meant to ask you, Mark, earlier. The single malt and this bourbon we're having right now, what are they going to be retailing for in Ohio? Do you know what they're
I
going
think
to be
the single malt's going to be in the neighborhood of 35, 36. The bourbon, I think it's about 39, 41, right in that range.
Very reasonable. Very reasonable for
that.
what you're getting. And also, did you have this problem? A lot of people in the industry have been complaining about glass not being available during the pandemic to make their products. Beer companies are saying we don't have enough. We can't put enough beer out because we don't have any glass. These bottles right here are magnificent. They're beautiful bottles. I turned one into a lamp. My housekeeper made lamps out of empty whiskey bottles, and I said, make one out of this one because it's so heavy and sturdy. It's got some girth to it.
I think we have dropped a number of those bottles during the bottling process, and I think only one's ever broken.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a heavy glass.
Yeah, they are.
It's beautiful.
So you didn't run into a glass shortage when you were bottling up the whiskey?
We came into a situation about 8 months ago. We couldn't get stocks in, but since then we had about a 3-4 week period. We were struggling a little bit, but we were able to get the stock in and pick it back up where we were at.
All right. Well, like I said, this is the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 90 proof, and under $40 when it debuts here in Ohio tomorrow. So
very good.
If the bourbon is your thing, you can't go wrong with this one.
10 out of 10. Now, just real quick, I know we probably don't have the exact numbers, but like this is a barrel select. So how many can we expect in Ohio? Is it going to be? I mean, obviously, it's going to be super rare run.
On the barrel select itself, we typically say it's going to be between 30 and 35 cases. It's 6 bottle cases per barrel. And now those barrels on the barrel select, those are at cast strength. So it's what the barrel's given us. And it could be anywhere from 99 up to 112 proof on there.
Does that answer your question, Greg?
Well, yeah. So go get it. Don't wait around. It's not gonna last long once it hits the shelves.
Yeah, big time.
All right.
And just real quick, I'm just kind of curious because I've never done one of these tastings. Who else was on the call with you? Was other Ohio whiskey
we had a couple people from Ohio Liquor Control, their whole staff that have accompanied another Canepa. James Canepa was. I don't know if Canepa was at that one or not. I can't remember. But a lot of his staff was there doing it, and also some restaurateurs and whiskey aficionados that are in the know here in Columbus, Ohio, that have fine establishments with wide arrays of whiskeys and know their stuff.
So you might be able to find this out at a whiskey bar somewhere in town, even.
Oh yeah, for sure, you'll be able to.
Cool. That's cool,
without a doubt. And it was interesting to watch some of those heads collide in their thought processes about in respect to the palate and the finish.
Right.
Some of the selections that we were trying, some would say, I think this one needs a couple more years, as opposed to someone would say, I think this one is outstanding, and someone would go, no, I don't think so. So it's interesting.
And you're like, have a lampshade on your head, listen to Sinatra in the background, and be like, this one. This one.
Did you pick the winning barrel, Dino, or no?
I think when we made our decisions, if I recall correctly, you're right, Johnny. I always take a little pride in that. I think the ones that we picked were on my check, like this one. So I might have picked two. So either way we went, like it's either this one or this one, but at least it was one of them that was selected. So and Hansberry, you were smack on it there, my friend. This one they had right here on the bourbon in respects to what it has going on: molasses, vanilla, brown sugar. I was tasting a little something cinnamon and nutmeg. So your nose, my friend, your nose is good, Hansberry.
Yeah, man.
You're good.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Mic drop. See you guys. I'm done for the night.
My favorite is the last one we're going to try. Wish more people, and it's starting to happen. It's been happening over the last few years. I have a lot of friends who are diehard bourbon drinkers and don't want anything to do with rye whiskey, which I think is, one, stupid, and two, a damn shame, because rye whiskey is a beautiful thing. This is the straight rye whiskey, small batch, and this was the one that's got this is 100 proof.
Yeah,
and worth every bit of it. It's
can we show our viewers our label? Here's our label.
Yeah,
that's our label.
Our. Oh, look, he at least put it in the Dino's Drippins bottle for me.
Oh,
nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, Mark, I could have just as easily left them dry, high and dry with nothing, and kept it all right here.
Like he did over the pandemic, he would be having these like fancy $300 bottles, and we'd be like, I'm drinking very old Barton
whiskey to these unappreciative.
Appreciation just comes through, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. The love, you can feel the love.
Yeah. We're just busting your balls, man. We're just busting your balls.
Yeah, that's fine. I wish, I wish I would have given you more, but those are the only bottles I had empty. Let's talk about the straight rye whiskey. My favorite out of the three.
Yep, that's probably about an 8-year-old rye. Now our rye content is a little bit lower than most. Ours is a 55, 30, 15 blend on that. So it's going to be a little bit milder, but I think it still hits the spiciness that you really like to see in a rye. But it's a very drinkable, smooth rye whiskey.
That is the one thing all three of these whiskeys have in common as far as drinkability goes. You're not going to wince. These are all very smooth and relaxing beverages that you're going to sit back and literally sip and enjoy. I mean, that is one of the traits that all three of them share, is the smoothness, for sure.
It's very fruity, too. There's a lot of fruit here.
Yeah, it's very nice. The black licorice right away.
Yeah. Yeah, this one definitely resounds with a whole bunch of stuff in the nose. I remember that. It's all coming back to me now. Yeah.
This is really good. Wow.
This is wonderful. Yeah.
I can't break it down. I can't break it down like you guys, but I know what I like, and I like this stuff. It's good. It's very good.
You get to play it off like you know what you're talking about, and people buy into it. We'll start rattling a bunch of flavors. Is that butterscotch sage? Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
No, that's vanilla. There's vanilla in this.
Yes.
I pick up on the vanilla on this one for sure, as I did before. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
this is by far my favorite. What Chris to say? If Dino sings Celine, I'm gonna hurl. What?
Right.
Oh, because I'm on Sunday 95. Okay, I get it. That's fine. No, I'm not gonna sing Celine Dion.
Or because
I
you love the rye
It's
so
all
much.
coming back to me now. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, a little slow on the uptake. Getting back up at 4 o'clock in the morning has left me a little groggy in the early evenings of our podcast. But
Hey, Mark, do you drink coffee?
Oh,
You
yeah. I
coffee
love
drinker?
coffee.
What time of the day is your last cup of coffee?
And most of the time it's around 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Now, if
Wow.
you drank a cup of coffee about 4 or 5 or 6 p.m., don't you think you'd stay up all night?
I wouldn't. No. I'd drink it and I'd just go right on to sleep right at 5.
thank
5
you, Mark.
All right, Dino and I have been having this
Thank you,
discussion.
Mark.
He's like, I can't go to sleep. I'm staying up all night. And he says, he's drinking a cup of coffee at 4, 5, 6 p.m. I go, that's why. You got to stop drinking coffee and you go to bed.
What he's referring to, Mark, is I recently went back. I was at my radio station for 24 years. I took a 3-year hiatus, and I just returned a couple weeks ago. And I've been having trouble I'm not having a trouble getting up, but I'm having trouble going to bed.
Because he's
At
drinking
night.
coffee at 6 p.m.
Well, you know what I got to do? I got to start drinking more of this right around 10 p.m.
Yeah.
That's
There
what I
you
need to do. So this rye, is it fair to ask a master distiller what he prefers when it comes to his whiskeys?
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. And I'll tell you flat out. It's whatever I feel like drinking that night. I mean, it's cool outside here today. I mean, it's unusual for August. I mean, I would love to be sitting out back on the deck with a nice cigar, having a rye whiskey with
in front of a campfire.
Yep.
Nice.
No, that's what's nice about it. You can drink whatever you feel like that evening, and I'll drink all 3 of them.
This is really good.
They're nice.
So when it comes to whiskey, did you ever lean towards a favorite? I mean, when you started drinking as a young man, what was your go-to when you were growing up as a lad?
Well, yeah, just as most lads, you overindulge and then you don't get back into it for 20 years because it turns your stomach when you smoke it.
That's good.
Yeah, it was always the cheap whiskey that you can get a hold of when you were young. I've always gravitated more toward beer when I was young, and I still enjoy a good beer. But there's no favorites among it. But usually the one that turned your stomach over is the one you stayed away from the longest.
Do you remember what that first one was that turned your stomach?
Oh, hell yeah, Jack Daniels.
Well, really? It was Jack.
Yeah.
Too much or just?
That was too much, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's I drink. We all know I drink Jack, and it's returned my stomach. Black Velvet did it for me. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was a number of years before I went back and added Jack again. So,
yeah, white rum for me. John, what was it for you?
I've told the story before. It was that mix of scotch that my mom had, and I drank it and went to Baskin Robbins and had.
You rode your bike to the ice cream shop.
Yes. I didn't touch alcohol for at least 10 years after that. So
yeah,
or ice cream.
Yeah. We all remember our first.
That's right.
Yeah. We all remember the first one. So the rye, what's the rye going for when it starts?
That's going to be around 46 to 49, right in that range there.
Yeah, well, I'd pay it.
Now, this might be a dumb question, but why is rye always a little more expensive? It's just more ingredients, takes longer. Is that not the case?
It isn't always more expensive. There are very reasonable ryes out there. Go ahead, Mark.
No, but and maybe it's just but like if for example, Town Branch or whatever, if when you have a flight of bourbons and ryes, The rye's always seemed to be more expensive. And again, maybe it's just the handful that I've looked
there's
at.
two things that fall into it. One is the cost of ingredients more if you have a high rye content on it, but more so is the proof is considerably. It's almost standard to have at least 100 proof. And if you go from an 80 to 100 or a 90 to 100, you're using up anywhere from 11 to 17% more liquid. So you have to recover that cost there.
Fair enough. No, yeah, that's good to know. I think about I bought I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, and I was going back and forth because Dylan's got that whiskey out, and the rye's like $20 more. I'm like, I don't think so.
Well, before we leave and wrap things up tonight, we're gonna have a super secret XXX. Nobody knows about it, and it's not available yet in Ohio. And I want to know the history behind this little sample that they tucked in there. Let me see if I can get can you see the writing there? True cask. What am I holding in my hands here, Mark Coffman? And what you have is a blend of a new make whiskey that we started making a little over 4.5 years ago. It's more of a traditional bourbon recipe there, and it's blending in with our older whiskey that we've had on the market for a number of years. And it's got the lower corn content and the higher malt and the higher rye content on it. So this has got a higher rye content to it.
Well, the true cask is going to be a blend of both, almost equal parts. So it's kind of a transformative bourbon there.
And what was the motivation?
That was done at cask strength too. So it's whatever the casks are, or it's a blend of those casks and whatever that proof's coming off at. I'm not exactly sure what that finished up at.
And what was the motivation and desire to put this together? What were you guys thinking? Because I know
to show another line that's coming off, something that we've got coming down the line, and give you another slot on the shelf too. Just trying to expand that line a little bit more.
My mom.
What's it like, Dean?
Okay. Well, I don't have Hansberry's nose, but
it smells and tastes like a campfire.
You know what? You're not that's so funny you said that, because there's a little bit of smoke in this one in my nose. This one is not as fruity and aromatic as some of the others. This one is just.
Yeah, I think that one picks up a little bit more of the char and the smoke with the char. A lot more flavors are coming through.
Even from afar, Hansberry, remotely on camera, your nose is picking up smoke. It's amazing.
Oh my God.
And oh wow. Okay. Do you ever get a whiskey, and it happens on a regular basis when it's a good whiskey, that's immediately starts to coat the roof of your mouth and just kind of lingers there for a second?
The viscosity that sticks to the roof of your mouth. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I'm picking up on I got some caramel notes in there that I feel on the roof of my mouth, kind of not butterscotchy, but kind of caramely like. And my favorite kind of finish that goes right down here, kind of does a little flip flop and just kind of settles in. And as I speak, it's still resonating. How soon before something like this gets out into the public, Mark?
I believe that should be due next month.
Really?
Yeah.
Now there's no
in Ohio.
Well, no, there's no plans for it to come to Ohio yet. That has to go through a bunch of chutes and ladders. Yeah.
Jim, you watching
right now? I'm not sure what the date is on it.
Yeah. Now, how much would something like this go for, you think? Because this is
I think
pretty special.
you're talking about right in the range of 40, 45, right in that range.
I was just going to say 70. Just throw it out there, but that's great.
It's still floating around inside there. As far as the flavor notes, Mark, well, what else can you tell us about this one other than what I said and was picking up on? Because everybody picks up on something a little different.
Yeah, the spice on it is going to be a little bit more milder on that. You get some of that cloying feeling inside your mouth. It'll sit there and linger and cool off as you're breathing and exhaling through there. You'll pick up the caramel notes. Not much on the vanilla side yet, but I think that will change over time. I when I was tasting it last week, it was picking up some wood, some oak notes onto it too.
So it wasn't too far off when I said kind of smoky and woody, and then a little caramel up on top of the roof of the mouth. It just kind of hung there for a second, like a caramel chew that just got stuck up there, and you can't quite get it off, but you can still taste it. This is excellent. This is. I hope that Ohio. Let me put the glass down and actually bring up a little bit, and I'll save some of this, boys, for you. I'll save some of the true cask, for both Hansberry and Whitney.
Because as Jen says, Dino, you didn't share because we only
he had a small bottle.
They didn't share this one. I didn't want. I could have. I probably could have pieced this out a little bit equally, but all right, I'll say it.
We'll polish it off at your house next time we're there. I keep thinking of True Blood.
You're a selfish bastard. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a selfish bastard. And plus, you guys will be here next week, and I'll let you have it then.
Oh yeah, speaking about next week,
are we gonna tease our next show? Is that what's happening? I don't know.
No, we're not going to tease our next show while we're still on the show with this guy.
No, of course not.
So, Mr. Coffman, what in addition to the True Cask, what else can we look forward to from Town Branch in the months to come? Anything exciting that you want to tease us with that we can look forward to?
We've got a sherry finished bourbon should be coming out within a few weeks. Then there's some other specialty items that we're in the process of working on, but we're not ready to discuss just yet. But we've always got something brewing. Someone's got an idea. We're going to give it a try and see how we can work things out and get some flavors out. One thing I can share with you is next year we'll have some weeded bourbon available, probably latter part of next year. So we've got that coming on. It'll be about 5 years at that time. So we're looking forward to getting that out.
I would love to see you guys take a shot at the weeded bourbon. I think that would be amazing. Okay. And do you find it to be? My last question: do you feel the heat and the competition, especially being down there on the Bourbon Trail, to kind of try and stay one step ahead of one another? As like, okay, you guys are doing this, well, we're doing this. You're doing that, well, we're going to do this.
I don't, but the guys like Rob and the sales guys and the marketing people, they sure to hell better have the heat on them because they're the ones that are getting beat up. But no, it's good competition. I mean, when you make a good product, it makes it a whole lot easier to sell it, and it's easy to get behind that product. And as long as you got that good quality coming out, it just pushes the name right through there. Just keeping consistency number one. You don't want to deviate from that.
Are you good? Do you have a good working relationship with all the distillers around? There's only a handful here in Columbus, but they all work together daily. Yeah,
I mean, we're all part of Kentucky Distillers Association, so it's not uncommon for us to communicate on something almost on a monthly basis. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we haven't been getting together, but that's usually a fun time when we all get together and tell some stories. Nice. But we got the Bourbon Affair coming up and Bourbon Festival coming up in September, and everybody's looking forward to getting together again and sharing what they've got and what their experiences are.
When's that taking place? Go ahead, Johnny.
Dino, help me with this. But we had somebody on. Oh God, the blonde lady from Louisville. But she was talking about how people cooperate down there. and if there was something wrong with a shipment of grains that they would borrow from other people.
Yeah.
Does it happen with you as well?
Bourbon,
Oh yeah, almost monthly I'll get a call. Not so much for grain, but someone needing some yeast or some enzymes.
Yeah.
If they can borrow some of ours, and they'll swap it out. But yeah, it's pretty common. Everyone, tide raises all boats, and everyone's in this together. And everyone works hard for they're fighting the match, but they all want everybody to succeed. And if everyone's succeeding, I think everyone's going to be great on it.
Yeah, it's nice to know that it's not cutthroat like that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
We let the salespeople and marketing people beat it out.
First time I had Town Branch, I knew it was a winner. And when I was so fortunate to have the state of Ohio ask me to be part of a barrel selection, I said, hell yes, because I was a fan before the barrel selection. So thank you, Mark Coffman, for joining us this evening. I want to check some of the comments real quick here. That we have a lot of howdy boys from, Paulie and Deb down in Cincinnati. They're chiming in. Anne Marie Bicky says it is excellent. I imagine she's speaking of the product itself. And my buddy Robbie Sanfilippo from Florida is chiming in with a "What's up, Dino?" I'll tell you what's up, Robbie. Mark Coffman, Master Distiller, introducing 3 new bottles to the state of Ohio. That's what's up. That's all reasonably priced, and all are going to go very, very quickly. So, folks, when they hit your favorite liquor agency here in Ohio, we like to refer to them. We don't call them liquor stores anymore. We call them liquor agencies. When they hit your favorite agency, by all means, see the sommelier and see if they were allocated any of the Town Branch. Mark Coffman, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it. Continued success with everything you do, and how fortunate for Town Branch to have had you at the helm from the beginning to where we are right now with just an amazing product. And thank you so much for bringing these 3 special bottles to Ohio. Thank you, sir. Much
Thanks, guys.
appreciated.
Good meeting up with you. I'm glad we had the tasting, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yeah,
No
I want
problem.
to say thank you to Jen Bright as well for coordinating all this. I know she's tuning in this evening, and I thank her so much for putting all the hoops and shoots together so we could actually share this time. I look forward to coming down to Lexington and actually getting a tour of the place, going through all the facilities and seeing everything.
That's what I was going to ask, Mark. How do we find that? What's the website? If we want to come down and hit you up, let's do it. How do we do that?
You can go to KentuckyAle.com or Town Branch, any of those websites there, or you can even go to the KDA or Bourbon Trail. It's gonna be listed at all those sites.
Yeah.
And you're doing full tour.
Whiskey Business Bourbon Trail Extravaganza. So, and then we talked about it, and then COVID hit, and then we forgot about it, and I think we need to hit the road, fellas. What do you say?
Yep.
I absolutely. Let's do a remote. Let's just go there.
My next wife might let me do it.
Oh, your next wife.
Your ex-wife.
Nice.
All right.
I kid.
All right. Before we close, Hansberry, a little bit of business before we say goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, thank you. This is a lot of fun because we enjoy your comments wherever they come up. It's part of the show. And also, if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live now and the show's over, make sure you follow us so that you get notifications when we do these live things. It's a lot of fun. Plus, you should subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. There's a million of them out there that you could find us on. Just search for Whiskey Business. And we just ask you to rate, review, and share us, because when you share Whiskey Business, that's the best way that we kind of expand. And why not? Why not? Right?
Right.
Do you need any more explanation than just why not? Thanks to Evergreen Podcasts. We're part of their network now, which we're really excited to be joining. Evergreenpodcasts.com. You can find us. You can find our new headshots.
We are looking pretty lovely.
I'm not. They're great headshots, but I hate getting my picture taken. Hansberry loves it. Loves the camera.
It gives me
And
the
the
chance to
camera
wear my
loves
ruffled
Mansberry.
tuxedo. I wore my ruffled tuxedo. What else we got here? Facebook, Instagram, whiskeybusinesspod.com, where you can find all of our archive episodes, including this one where I did with Whiskey Business Chicago, the bar up in Chicago. And the most recent one is with Chuck Lombardo, the biggest Indians fan of all time. We talk about the Guardians thing. And then also Jason Banks. There's a two-parter out there with comedian Jason Banks. That's hilarious.
TikTok famous.
What's that?
What's that?
TikTok famous.
He's TikTok famous.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think we nailed it all.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did not smoke during this podcast tonight.
I did notice that.
You did notice that? Well, I've made a. No, I'm not quitting. I'm trying to. When Mark mentioned I would love to be on the back with a cigar and a rye, and why? Because a cigar is a nice finish after you've done had a full day. So I'm going to try to get through an entire podcast without a cigarette. But as we get to the close of a podcast, when I feel the podcast went very well and I'm satisfied. Right?
There you go. That tobacco satisfaction.
There we go. So,
Don't smoke, kids.
On behalf of John Whitney, the amazing videographer of whiskey. Show yourself, Johnny. Show yourself.
Oh,
Where
me.
are you? Yes, you. There he is. The audio engineering of Greg Hansberry, ladies and gentlemen. Blow the kisses. And our very special guest tonight from Lexington, Kentucky, Mark Coffman, Master Distiller for Town Branch.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so much. Next week, kids, we are going to be live again and on location back here in Columbus, Ohio at Watershed Distillery, making a whiskey business barrel selection for Watershed. So we hope that you can tune in August the 11th for that extravaganza on location at Watershed Distillery. Until then, my friends, and until the next bottle. See ya.